So all these deal that you're getting or the deal flow that you're getting, is it all from the brokers or do you get some off-market deals too? How does
Great
that work?
question. Great question. We definitely get a bulk majority of our deals from brokers and other syndicators, but there is a handful of off-market, I wouldn't call them wholesalers, but these are people that just play in the off-market world, and from time to time, they get some good deals. Honestly, I've seen fewer and far between of those over the last 12 months. I think they
Interesting.
might spike up later this year, early next year. Who knows? We'll see.
This is a Real Estate Vibe show, and I'm your host, Vinki Loomba. As a real estate investor and a fund manager, I'm always excited to explore the world of real estate opportunities with you and for you. Today, I have my good friend, Hector Hernandez, with me. Welcome to the Vibe show, Hector.
Thank you, Vinky. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
I'm super happy that you're here with me today. Hector, the founder and CEO of Cash for Real Estate Fund, specializing in property acquisitions across Southwest U.S. With 17 years of real estate expertise, he has successfully led hundreds of transactions as a principal, broker, and consultant. His impressive portfolio spans residential and commercial investments, including single-family homes, multifamily properties, and mobile home assets. So today, our topic of discussion is 2 keys to real estate investing success, deal flow, and mastering broker relationships. I'm super excited about this topic because these are the keys: finding the right deal flow and maintaining the relationships. We all know deal flow is crucial for real estate investors because it keeps a steady stream of potential deals coming your way, right? And also building strong relationship, whether it's with your brokers or your investors, is as important since they can connect you to the best opportunities. By focusing on both, you can make sure you're always in the loop for great investment deals. So with that being said, I'm going to start with the first question. What strategies do you use to consistently generate a strong deal flow in today's competitive market? We know how competitive it is right now.
It is extremely competitive. And for me, it comes down to staying engaged and networking. Whether I'm seeking new brokers to build relationship with or new syndicators to partner with and joint venture with, it's all about staying engaged with them. I go to multiple networking events, whether it's on Zoom or in person. From the broker standpoint, is also looking at their deals. And same thing with the syndicator. It's giving them the time, right? It's not just networking for the sake of networking, but when they send you something, it's touching it and giving them feedback as soon as possible. That goes a really long way. Is what I found, especially when things are competitive, right? They're going through a lot to get you that opportunity in your inbox in front of you or on your text message, whichever way they deliver it to you. And so the least we could do is fire back a quick response and give them some feedback.
That's a good idea always to do that. But let's talk about the deal flow first before we talk about the broker relationships, So how do you identify the high potential deals early in the process? Like you said, it is one bed very quickly within 24 hours or 48 hours, which is like key actually to maintain the relationship. Otherwise, brokers think you're not interested, they move on to the next person. So, but what is your process, the quick process, 5-minute process to analyze the deal, whether it's a good deal or bad deal?
So first and foremost, knowing your box. For me, if I know what I'm looking for, it's so quick for me to look at it and say, all right, this passes the very, like I call it the smell test, right? If, like you said, I predominantly play in the Southeast. I know the markets really well. If I see something on the other side of the country that doesn't match, it's an automatic no. I immediately let that person off the hook. They know, hey, I can't look to Hector for an investment or for a potential partnership. And then if it passes that first round, I am looking at the market first. and digging into that particular submarket. Say it's maybe here in Florida, but it's a particular market that I'm not super familiar with. So I'll go dig into that market real quick and dive in to see if it's something I even want to take a look at. And then from there, I go to vintage. I'm very concerned with vintage.
Mhm. So what is vintage? Share with our audience, Some might not even understand when you said vintage.
That's true. That's true. Vintage is the year built. And these days, with insurance prices on the rise, particularly in the Southeast and here in Florida, by far, insurance prices are skyrocketing on
Mhm.
older construction.
Yeah, but what is the differentiation in the vintage, exactly, because I know we have A, B, C, D, different classes in the vintage too. So that's how we categorize the property. So if you can shed some more light onto that, and what is your buy box, what vintage that you are more interested in and why?
So absolutely, that's a great question. So myself, predominantly right now, I'm playing in a A to B plus, which is basically 2000s and newer.
Mhm.
Just because again of that insurance hurdles and the fact that construction has also gotten a little expensive. It's a lot to manage those properties. And by the way, Vinky, that box has been evolving over the last 12 months tremendously, right? I've got no, but you told me you were looking at 80s. Nope, not anymore. Well, what about 90s? Not anymore. Because it's you have to evolve with the times, right? And that comes back to you knowing what you like, but also what your investors like. And I don't want to put deals in front of my investors that don't match what they're looking for.
Mhm. That's good. So all these deal that you're getting or the deal flow that you're getting, is it all from the brokers or do you get some off-market deals too? How does
Great
that work?
question. Great question. We definitely get a bulk majority of our deals from brokers and other syndicators, but there is a handful of off-market, I wouldn't call them wholesalers, but these are people that just play in the off-market world, and from time to time they get some good deals. Honestly, I've seen fewer and far between of those over the last 12 months. I
And
think they might spike up later this year, early next year. Who knows? We'll see.
that's true. So can you share some examples of how you have leveraged off-market deals and what advice do you have for our investors or audience who are looking to tap into something like that? Because everybody thinks that, off-market deal is the best deal, but not all the time. So if you can share that example and also, your experience as well, because off-market might not the best deal if somebody's starting brand new.
Yes, and actually, there historically off market does produce good deals, right? Less competition, but it also comes back to how big the buyers list of that person sending you the off market deal is. Because if they have a great buyers list, they're gonna put it in front of a bunch of people anyways. So
Mhm.
it's your message is gonna loop net, and you're gonna have a similar effect, right? So I would not just bank on off market being the best source of deals. Personally, I've been able to snag some phenomenal deals that are on market, and a lot of people saw them by the simple sheer of the relationships and staying engaged. It goes back to that relationship piece and staying engaged, whether on market or off market, you can definitely leverage some good deals. The off market deals are going to sometimes come with a few more hurdles. There might not be as good financials and as clean OM or data, right? Because there's a reason why this mom and pop or this particular seller didn't just have a really high end powerful broker put it out on the market.
That's true. That's the reason I said, if you are new, you might want to work with not off-market deal because initially to understand the process, it takes a lot more
Oh yeah.
than just getting the off-market deal because the data is not going to be structured. It's all unstructured data, and then you have to put it like in a structured format in order for you to understand that. So sometimes it's a good idea to work with not off market in the beginning, just work with a broker or somebody, because they'll bring you a good deal. They will know exactly what they're presenting to you. And accordingly, you can just underwrite your buy box, your strategies, and that play a big role in that, right? So how is
Absolutely.
this current AI buzz or the technology playing a big role on bringing all these deals to you, or it has optimized a deal flow for you, or anything change in that aspect?
Oh man, I'm glad you touched that point. AI, from a sense of deal flow, I've played around with a few AI tools out there that claim to give you access to off-market deals. Honestly, they're still missing the mark a little bit,
Mhm.
but it does definitely help me expedite that process in getting back to people and scouting that deal, like you said, in a very fast manner. Where a lot of times I had to do these processes that I shared with you, checking out the market or whatnot by hand. We now use AI to help out with that and expedite what would normally take me maybe a few hours. It's now a few minutes.
Wow. So share with me more how you're utilizing AI to vet these deals. Did you create your own, like some models, AI models or anything like that?
Absolutely. So we've created some AI chatbots to particularly help vet the initial vetting on the deal, but also the market. That
Mhm.
manual process of going to multiple places to pull market data, to pull rent comps, crime stats, school stats, all of that we can do in the press of a button, literally with AI by just populating the address or the deal information, and it immediately puts back what would, like, again, I would have to go through all these manual processes to do, or have someone on my team do it. Well, AI is definitely replacing some teammates.
Wow. So let's talk about the broker relationships, Tonya, so that plays a big role. How did you start building the relationships, or how are you getting the deal flow actually, mostly through the brokers you said earlier, but how did you get started? How did you build those relationships to get the deal flow. That's the first thing. A lot of times I hear people saying that, I call the brokers, I make so many calls, nobody calls me back. I'm still looking for more brokers to put them on my roster so I can call them more. So it takes a while to build the relationship, right? So if
Yeah.
you can share some tips how to do it and how to maintain it.
Absolutely. So I actually, like you said, I learned this at one point, once upon a time, I was a broker, right? My wife still runs an active brokerage. I have zero participation in it, but I know where brokers come from. I know how busy they are. And so if you call a broker, in my personal opinion, to say hello, how's the weather doing? It's not gonna really excite them. They might be kind of rude and get you off the phone, because especially right now when brokers are struggling to close deals, and even big high power brokers haven't gotten a commission check for quite a while. And so their time is super valuable. So I like to approach brokers with something about their listing, right? I'm not just going to call them off the random. I'm not going to email them off the random. If they have a deal that I'm slightly interested in, or they're playing in a market where I'm slightly interested in, I'm going to dig into their need. Okay, they want to sell this particular asset that they have listed. I'm going to talk about that first. I'm going to lead with that. Show them that I put some time in. That's the first thing I do. I'm not just going to call you randomly and ask you a question that's on your OM, because I know that's going to make me look bad, right? So I put in my time. I want that broker to give me their time, to give me their respect and their attention. I'm going to do the very same thing before they engage with me. And I'm going to show them that I did that when I call them and I ask very specific questions, or I touch on very specific points, whether that deal ends up working or not down the road. I'm also going to let them know. And then that's when I now share my buy box with them. Rather than calling with a need, I'm calling to try to solve their problem, which is selling that listing. I gain their attention. And then from there, we little by little, we start to evolve that relationship. The same key things that with all relationships, right? Communicate clearly, be nice, don't be rude. And just make sure that you're someone that you're treating people the way you want to be treated. That has worked wonders for me.
Well, that's glad. I'm glad to know that you had the experience on both sides. So I didn't know you come from the brokerage background. So if you can share with me, first of all, how did you get here, or how did you become who you are today?
Oh wow, that's we go back way back. I fell in love with real estate at a very early age, Vinky. My sister bought one of those late night infomercials when I was in high school. I think she was a freshman in college. She bought one of those Glenn Beck's courses, and instantly I knew I was going to be a real estate investor. I didn't know how, so of course I got my real estate license when I was in college. That's how you become a investor, right? You become a realtor. wrong. But long story short, that was in 2007. I saw the whole market, implode, explode, whatever word you want to use. I saw a lot of people lose everything from real estate to their businesses. I was very fortunate to have not picked up my first couple of investments at that time. Something just didn't smell right to me. I was young. I was 20 years old. I'm getting approved for $500,000 loans while I'm in college. Just didn't make sense, right? I'm working a part-time job. So dodged that bullet, but I saw everyone else's around me paying. And so I learned from that. I became a short sale specialist in 2007, 2008. And then from there, just learned all the pre-foreclosure and foreclosure rules. We proceeded to buy a bunch of properties on auction through all like 2011, all the way up to like 2017, 2019. And eventually all of those started off for my clients. Then eventually in 2011, we picked up our first investment and just did not look back. Anything we can possibly grab, distressed auctions, direct to seller, off market, wholesaling, the whole nine yards, from single family all the way up to, there was an office building at one point that we even picked up on auction. That was just an off weird purchase, but it was cheap. It was a good price. We made some money on it. And now these days I run my fund. I guess I skipped a bunch of years, right? These days we launched the fund a couple of years ago after deciding that it was no longer just about me. I had, number one, proved to myself that I'm an okay investor, having done it for so many years, not taking any major losses, or being able to maneuver around, the things that didn't work out the way we expected them to. So that kind of propelled me to want to help others get in real estate. One of the things that I failed to mention is my love for real estate propelled me to become financially free. I come from a family of immigrants. My parents got here when I was 10 years old with nothing, negative anything, right? So absolute zero money, absolute zero wealth. And we've been able to build a little bit of wealth and more importantly, financial freedom and financial stability. And at sometime around 2020, after I had my first son, it just hit me. Everyone should have access to this. Everyone should be able to spend almost a year, Vinki, living off the cash flow off my properties and spending just time with my kid, my little tiny baby. I got to do everything from A through Z because I didn't have to rush to go back to work. That was a life-changing experience for me, and I want that for everyone. If they've already passed their prime, their kid-bearing ages, well, they should be able to retire and live a good life. I have a brother-in-law who's a dentist, makes phenomenal money. But in his mind, when he married my sister, he's like, I'm going to be working until I'm 70 to pay off all my student loans and all this. I'm like, no way, dude. We're going to do things differently.
That's so true. I like that. So since you were on both sides of the puzzle, broker and now you're investor. So I wanted to ask you this question. This question comes all the time. Actually, it comes to my mind all the time too. Like, how do you evaluate which brokers is the best fit for your investment goals? And what are some of the red flags that we should look for or watch for if you're new to the market? Because brokers gonna sell their listings. They're gonna do everything, whatever needs to be done. And I'll ask you another question regarding the underwriting and all that. We'll go there. But first, how to vet that this is a good fit for you.
That's a great question. And number one, it comes down to that, showing me that same respect. Beginning, I get it, we're started. Once I've already shared the box with you, you should be able to get fairly close to the box. If I tell you I don't buy in Alaska, don't send me Alaska properties, that type of thing. But more importantly than that, because any broker can overlook something, put you on a list and blast you a property, it's honesty. For me, that is huge. Like you said, the broker's going to paint the rosiest picture, take the best photos of the property, give you the absolute best potential rent pro forma, and it's your job to dissect it. But when some brokers, you could tell they're just flat out being dishonest about something, that's an immediate red flag for me. I immediately will just not work with that broker.
So how do you, look for the red flags? Because when you're building the relationship, because the thing is, when you're entering the market, you have less experience, I'm not talking about 10 years from now, 20 years from now, when you're beginning to build the relationships. So what are some of the things, that we should, you know, think that is a red flag or it's an alert? Maybe I need to have more people in my network to make sure that I'm riding the right wave.
So the red flags, well, number one, like I said, it was the honesty thing, right? And how much are they embellishing the negatives of the property? And on an email, I get it, you're marketing, but if you call that broker, you have a good conversation with them, and they're telling you it's XYZ, and then you're seeing something different, that automatically is a big red flag for me. And when I'm starting a relationship with a broker, especially if it's close to home, I'm gonna go see their properties. I'm gonna meet them at their properties. I'm gonna, if it's in another state, obviously I'm not going to do that unless we're going to actually buy the property. I'm not just going to fly around the United States, but any chance that I can to do a face-to-face, I'm going to take it. That's going to expedite my relationship building like 5x easy. It's going to cut down the time that we need to build that relationship. And also the brokers, another red flag is slow responses or vague responses, right? I want, again, I'm going to treat you with the same respect. I want the same respect. Answer me quickly, answer the details. If I ask you for an updated rent roll, don't send me last month's, and send me today's. Tell me the truth. The 5 people move out, that's okay. I'm okay with that. Just let me know.
Yeah, no, that's all. Those are the all important things. And then sometimes people think that, like you said earlier, brokers could be sometimes a little bit like edgy too, because if they don't think that you are the right fit, they're just gonna ignore you. And sometimes the reading could go wrong too. It's not like that they're 100% correct when they're reading people. The investors could be like a really big investor, but not savvy enough to answer or project himself or herself in a way the way broker wants to see them.
Yes.
So it actually goes both ways to build relationship. So can you share a story with me? Because since you're a broker, I'm assuming you have multiple solid broker relationships, So share a story with me that significantly impacted your success for a deal, one deal, two deal, anything.
Oh, I've absolutely gotten that those Hail Mary calls, so to speak, when the buyer falls off really close to closing. And because of a relationship with a broker, because they knew, or because I did a really good job while I was submitting an offer and I stayed connected, all of a sudden they pick up the phone like, hey, can you save this deal? Can you bring this to closing? Even when on deals that we haven't seen, that weren't on our radar, they'll just call us or reach out to myself or to my wife. And so those turn out to be most of the time really good deals. And you can also even get a slightly better price at times. Say it didn't work for me at a particular price, but the seller's thinking he's going to close. And now, do you want to go back to marketing, start fresh, or just take a little bit lower offer, take it and just get this deal done? And those have been very positive in my career. Those when they come around, they tend to be pretty good.
Yeah, I have seen those too. The current deal actually that I'm working on, that's kind of a similar scenario too. Because the first offer that we made that didn't work. And then the offer they accepted that kind of fell through. And then they came back to our team again. And I'm like, okay. So this time even better for us because we were in a better position to negotiate the deal even better. So those are all the good things. So let me go back to our broker relationships now. You were talking earlier. Let's talk a little bit about numbers. So as a broker, you underwrite the deal. So when you underwrite the deal, you keep the seller in perspective. It's kind of seller's perspective, how much seller wants or how seller sees the property and how much he can make out of it. So that could be a little bit different than from the investor perspective, right? So you have both perspectives, the seller as well as the buyer or the investor perspective. So if you can share with us, when the broker is underwriting, like when you are broker, you were underwriting, how you are looking at the deals versus now when you're on the other side as an investor or a buyer for these bigger properties, how are you looking at the deals? Because you know the inside out, right? What is in the OM? Like we were talking yesterday about some chat GPT things, how to create this underwriting model. And you mentioned something really cool. You're like, I will use the OM. So at that time, that stuck with me, that was a really good comment that we should pay attention to what broker is showing us or how they are coming up with that whole story.
Absolutely. And so neither side is wrong, right?
Mhm,
Broker has the seller's best interest. So like we said, they're gonna look at the picture perfect investment. Everything goes great in the economy. As
mhm,
an investor, our job is to mitigate risk. Really.
mhm.
Like that's really for our money and for our investors' money. Our job is to mitigate risk. We're on the opposite side of that now. And so it doesn't mean that any one person, and when a deal's happen is when both sides come together and they both meet and seller can deal with the buyer taking all the risk that they need to out of the deal. Although some buyers take on way too much risk, but that's them, right? I think the big difference when I look at it these days is just remembering that unless I have a reason to believe that this broker's got some sort of dishonesty feature or something, they're just doing the best that they can. And so I like to have a conversation with them when I'm reviewing deals and like, this is my side. I see what you're saying, but I see it this way. And most reasonable brokers, by the way, that's another red flag. If they're totally unreasonable and what you're thinking is totally wrong and they just won't understand you, yeah,
Not
that's
good.
another red flag. But for the most part, I think it does definitely give me a slightly unfair advantage because I've been on the other side that I can communicate with them like a broker, not just like a professional investor, but also like a professional broker and understand where they're coming from and the fact that they have a job to do. And even if they believe the price should be X, but their seller is a little higher, they're going to do their best to get their seller their number because that's who pays their bills at the end of the day.
So since you were a broker before and now you're an investor, and then you have lots and lots of relationship, right, in the brokerage side as well. So I'm assuming that you might be getting lots and lots of deals, right? Then maybe than the average person, like you were saying, if that deal didn't work out, the brokers come back to you and ask you if you need to take that down. So that question kind of stuck with me earlier when you were talking about that. So I wanted to ask you now, how do you balance the quantity versus quality in a deal flow actually, so that you're making sure that you're not busy looking at each and every deal that's been thrown at you, and but also making sure that it's like a good ROI on your time?
That's a great question, Vinky. And I'm still working through that, to be 100% honest with you. I could definitely filter it very quickly now because of the buy box. And once I got really clear on my buy box, I can stare at an email for a few seconds and find the key information that I want to know. But I'm still working through kind of like unsubscribing from some list, making sure not to get certain deal flow in the inbox. Um, I'm hoping that AI gets a little better and we can start to screen the emails with AI pretty soon to help with that. Quite frankly, that I still get bombarded. And one thing that I learned that I'm still working to implement through across all the different lists that I'm in is if you set up a separate inbox for your deal flow, it is so helpful. I still get in my main business inbox a gazillion deals every single day, and it does. At least I have rules on Outlook where it puts it in a folder, so that does clean up my actual inbox folder. But one tip that I will give anyone who's just getting started, or if you're not already on a bunch of different lists for brokers or even for syndicators, if you're getting deals in, get a separate email and use that email for all your deal flow and keep your personal or your business email separate for the communication back and forth between the various parties rather than for just a random marketing emails. For me, I once I started to do that, like I said, I still got to clean up present list that I'm in, but the new stuff, it's so much cleaner.
So do you work with more than one broker all the
Yes,
time? You
yes,
do.
yes.
So how do you navigate the challenges of working with multiple brokers and ensuring that, oh, the loyalty maybe, the trust maybe, or maybe I like this person better versus other?
So on the purchase side, it really comes down to who's got the best deal, right? In the right market. There's no going around that.
Mhm.
And the way you kind of pay it forward personally is if they sold me the deal and they were good to me when they were selling me the deal, they got that listing on my way out. Unless for some weird reason later in the future when I'm ready to exit, they're not around or something happened. That's kind of like my way of paying it forward, so to speak, to that broker.
So great. So share with me any incidents that the deal didn't work out and you stopped working with that particular broker and it kind of got sour taste in your mouth, anything. And what did you do to remediate that for the future relationships?
Honestly, the key ones that come up is rudeness. I don't do well with unkind people. I believe everyone should be treated with kindness. For the most part, or dishonesty. For the most part, brokers tend to be relatively honest people, but you could tell the few and far between that are just not that honest. There's a bunch of brokers that are on my list that I call them the overpriced brokers that I just don't look at their stuff, but there's nothing wrong with them. They're great people. They're just always on the high side. So I save my energy and my time. But definitely the worst ones are those that because something or other in the transaction or maybe in the negotiation, and then they just get rude. Particularly, I'm in South Florida. Particularly in South Florida, you have quite a few rude brokers. Those people I just don't work with. It doesn't matter how good the deal is. I just won't work with them.
Great, that's all good information. I mean, we can keep on talking about this. It's kind of never ending story because it's like it boils down to us as well, how we are projecting ourselves to the world and how we are trying to build a relationship. That all plays a big role. But let me ask you here, what advice do you have for my listeners, how they should maintain the relationship or build the relationship with the brokers? And also, how can they ensure this constant deal flow in their inbox?
So that's a great question, Vinki. And I often tell my coaching students the same thing in terms of creating relationships with brokers. Not much different than creating relationships with syndicators and fund managers. Is it goes back to that communication, that kindness, and letting people know, first of all, that you're on the market. You have no idea how often I talk to my coaching students and they had a call with a broker about a particular deal, but they didn't express their buy box. Hey, I'm looking in this area for this. Just let people know. Some people can read minds. So I think by you just putting yourself out there, like I said, going to the different various networking events, looking at the various deals, and then providing feedback. If broker A send me a deal that doesn't match my inbox, I'm going to look at it, or my buy box, I should say. I'm going to look at it. I'm going to provide him feedback, and I'm going to do my absolute best to make sure that he knows or she knows this is what Hector's looking for. And these types of deals should always be sent to Hector. Not that they won't send me other deals, but just that they at least know what I'm looking for. And I'm always raising my hand. And so I would advise your listeners to always raise their hand and let people know what they are looking for.
I know you said earlier too that you wanted to respond back quickly, 24 to 48 hours back to the broker. So yay or nay, either way. So why do you do that? Can you tell us a little bit more about it? So, and then from the broker side, is that an expectation from the brokers and why?
So from the broker side, if it's an email blast, obviously that's not an expectation, but it's a personal reach out, a direct email. I try my absolute best to do the same, even if it's like, haven't gotten to this, I'm not going to be able to get to it because I'm traveling onto X date. Is that okay? But I'm at least letting that broker know, I saw your email. I just don't have the time to touch it right now. I'll get to it when, and I usually give myself more time. If I think I can get to it by Friday, I'm going to tell them by next week. And that way I'm ahead of the game. But yes, I do try to, when it's a reach out from a broker or another syndicator or someone looking to joint venture, I'm going to always do my absolute best to meet that. If it's just a random, email blast, it's kind of hard to touch them all. Those all go to an inbox, and sometimes it does take a little bit of time to sift through.
Great information, Hector. So can you share one more golden nugget with my audience? Could be anything, mindset or the broker relationships or on the deal flow, whatever has worked for you in the past.
Actually, you said a keyword that I absolutely love, which is mindset. And one thing, especially in these times when things have shifted, deal flow has gotten tighter, or I should say good deal flow, because there's plenty of deal flow, but good deal flow has gotten a little bit tighter. Just remember is you don't control the deal. You don't control the seller. You control your activity. You control the fact that how many deals you looked at, how much time you spent, how you reacted to those deals, and how you communicated with those people. And for me, as long as I do my part, my mindset is I'm doing what I have to do. Eventually, a good deal will be in front of me and one that I can execute on. Just because the deal doesn't underwrite well doesn't mean I did anything wrong. Doesn't mean the seller did anything wrong. They have what they need, what they need. I need what I need, and we're both just going through our activities. For me, it's more about activities and making sure that I do X amount of activities to feel fulfilled.
Great. I like it how you said it, that the deal didn't pan out the way the investor's looking like you're looking, or the numbers didn't work out for the seller the way you underwrote it. So it's like the seller is looking for whatever he's looking for or she's looking for, and the same goes for the investor side. So that might not be a good match, but there's going to be somebody else to come in. That's a good thing to keep in mind. So this brings us to our vibe rapid fire round. So I'm going to ask you 5 questions. You have to answer it in 1 sentence or 1 word only. Are you ready?
That's hard for me, Vinki. Remember, I'm Cuban, but I will do my best.
All right. So the first question is, what is one of the most important things that you have learned in your life? And how did your life change after learning it?
Gratitude. In one
I love
word.
that.
Be grateful for life. Be grateful for waking up every day.
That's true. For every breath that you take.
Yes.
I like that. What is the best book that you have read and like to recommend to my audience?
The best book that I have read recently, oh man, there's so many of them, but Tony Robbins' new book, The Holy Grail of Investing, is a phenomenal book for an investing audience. I mean, I love that guy, but that book is just on another level.
You know what? I ordered that book and it's sitting at my desk. I didn't even get a time to open it yet. So you
Oh,
encourage me. I'll try to
highly
read.
recommend you digging in. Yes.
I'll do that. So in one word, what does life mean to you?
Life is paradise.
Great. What is your biggest passion?
My family.
I knew that. If you could turn back in time and talk to your younger self, what would you tell yourself and why?
Pay more attention in school.
Oh, God. That's a good one.
Yes. Particularly in high school.
All right. That's good. That's good to know. Thanks for sharing your journey with us today. So tell me, how can people reach out to you?
Thank you so much for having me, Vinki. It's been an amazing. I can't believe the time already passed. It's been a lot of fun. That's why I love talking with you. We have such a good back and forth. I'm easy to reach. I am at it's a LinkedIn, Real Estate Hector, or Hector at cashforhouses954.com.
Thanks, Hector. I really enjoyed our conversation today.
Thank you. I hope everybody got some value out of it. I'm glad I was here. It's been very valuable for me. Thank you.